What's up guys? So I figured it's about time I made a video on Photoshop and post-processing and things like that. And in this video I figured I'd talk about the biggest thing in my opinion, which applies to macro photography, landscape, seascape photography, and portrait photography, and that's basically dodging and burning. And the most important thing is that it produces very professional results. So let's get to it and let me show you how I do it. Alright guys, welcome to my tutorial on dodging and burning, and yes, this is going to be one of the millions of already tutorials out there on YouTube. The difference with this tutorial is I'm showing you the way I dodge and burn. It doesn't mean that nobody else is doing it this way, it doesn't mean it's the right way, but it's just the way I do it. And the reason why you may like this tutorial versus the other tutorials is not only is it easy, it also provides and shows, professional results. So it's quick, it's easy. You can get in and get out, and that's the main thing. And the reason I like this method in Photoshop to dodge and burn is you can also apply it to landscapes, seascapes, almost anything that you want to dodge and burn. This method should work. And so let's get started here. And what I can do here is add a curves layer. Now this curves layer is really simple. We don't have to get overly complicated like a lot of videos do for curves. There's going to be a little hand with a finger here and two arrows. All I'm going to do is select the dark portion of her body and just drag down. How much you drag down? Well, you obviously don't want to drag this far down, right? I mean, that's just too much. What you want to do is just drag it down enough where it's dark, and you just have to remember, and after you play around with how you do it this way, when the darker you make this layer, the faster it is to burn the model when you start burning. So again, we're going to create the layer, use the hand, we grab a dark portion of her body and we just drag down. Then the next thing we want to do is hit the Command I. That inverts the layer. So now we're back to normal. The image looks the same as if we never touched it. However, we have a layer here that it is darker, and if once we paint it in, because it is masked, that's when the burn is going to come out. So the next thing we want to do is hit the Command J button. So all we're doing is duplicating this layer. Again, don't worry, this is really easy. You just have to hit this little reset button on the bottom right hand corner where there's a circle with an arrow, and that just resets the layer. You grab the hand with the pointy finger and the two arrows again, and all we're going to do is click a lighter portion of her face and then lift it up. Real simple, real easy, not rocket science, right? So far so good. We highlight both layers, we hit Command G, and that just groups it together. Now so far it's been pretty simple. Now you don't have to name this. I don't name these anymore, but if you wanted to, just for this video purpose, make it easier, we're going to name this face. And then all we're going to do is highlight this group and hit Command J to duplicate the group, and then just go body. Simple. Next thing we're going to do is Command J one more time and name this background. And that's it. You're done. You're set. You're ready to go. All you have to do is hit your brush button here, and then your flow is going to be by default 100%. If you look at flow on the top here, it's going to be 100%. What you want it to be is either 1 or 2%. I like 2%, so I'm going to stick it here at 2%. And the first thing I'm going to start with is face. Okay, so all of these you have to remember are the same thing. You have your dodge, you have your burn, and you have your dodge. So the burn will always be on the bottom of each group. So let's go to the burn, because I like to burn first, because the burn to me is going to be more noticeable than the dodge in this case, or the way I do things. So when I have the face is normally to enhance makeup. Now if you look at the lighting, you have on the model here light on the, well, let's do this first. Let's make sure that your brush is set up correctly as well. So this is a hard brush here where it's 100% hardness. You want to make sure your brush is 0% hardness so that there's some fall off on the side. Okay, so it's feathered, and that's very important. So hardness is 0. Okay, and then the next thing you want to do is look at lighting. Now here's dodging and burning. There's no easy way. I know a lot of people, they like to convert it to black and white, do all these tricks to make it easy, and then you can just color it in. It's really not that complicated, meaning you don't really have to go that far to do it. In any case, all you have to do is look at the model's skin here. You have lighting here, which means you have light on her hair, which means there is light on the left hand side of the model. And if you look at the model's eyes, you have catch light here, which shows a modifier. looks like a round modifier, and it is a round modifier. It happens to be the full text modifier. I believe it was the 48-inch because I used it to shoot this model. Now, dodging and burning is basically just enhancing the shadows and the highlights just to make the image pop a little bit more. Now, the problem with off-camera flash is when you flash a model, even though she has the most beautiful makeup in the world, what happens is that it blows the makeup out, and then all of a sudden it looks like she doesn't have as much makeup as she used to have before. So your dodge and burn is basically, you know, your basic way of putting on makeup. So if you ask any girl, you would have your contouring and, you know, all that other stuff, and that's all you're gonna do here. So yeah, your brush is at flow 2%, and all you're gonna do is just all you're gonna do is switch it from black to white, because you have to make sure that your brush is white, because all of your layers here are inverted. So once your brush is white, you hit the X key to switch back and forth. So right now it's at white. We're just going to look at her contour here, and we're just going to brush it in. Just a couple of strokes is all you need. And then you go to her hairline and you kind of brush it in. Now you have to be careful because the light is coming from here, her front, and on the back side of her. So you don't want to overly do it, because the shadows that it's already creating is the only shadows that you want to change. So your photography skill set has to be up to par to begin with in order to make the shadows. The thing about dodging and burning that I see a lot of people do is they burn in places that shouldn't be burned. There's shadows that they create that shouldn't be any shadows because they don't understand light. When you do your photography appropriately, the shadows that is already on the model, all you're doing is enhancing it, and that's what makes it that much simpler, because you just look at where the shadows are already created and you're just enhancing it, and that's all you need to do. So we enhanced her contour over there. Let's do some enhancing on her eye. I forget what was that called, and then maybe her eyebrows over there, and then you want to do some enhancing on her liner here, right? All you're doing is just making it a little bit darker because the flash blows it out. It's really that simple. Okay, and then you don't have to do too many strokes. As you can see, I'm not doing very much at all. We want to enhance her lips a little bit, make that a little bit darker right in the middle, right? As you can see, there's light over here, so we'll take care of that later. And that's pretty much about it. We're gonna do a little bit behind her neck there, and just around her forehead here, just make that a little bit darker. Wherever you know that there's going to be a shadow, just fill it in. Some places you don't want to fill in too much if it doesn't line up to where it's supposed to be, but other than that, it's that simple. This is the before and this is the after. Very, very small changes. Now you don't have to worry when you overdo it. See, so this is after and before. So before and after. Okay, so now we're going to the dodge section, and again, you don't have to worry about, you know, overdoing it, because you can, well, I'll show you how to bring it down. So we just want to brighten up the places, even up the skin here. If you see any splotchy areas, you just want to even that out. Any darker areas that you don't want to see, you want to just even that out as well. Okay, and then normally when women wear makeup, they have it down straight on the nose here. And again, it's just going to be real simple, real quick. You have some light spots here from created from the flash, and then we just want to highlight her lips just a little bit here. See, nothing big, and then there you go. That's pretty much it. Now again, I think that this might be a little bit too much, and it normally is too much. Every time I dodge and burn a model's face, it normally is too much, and it doesn't matter what I do, it's always too much. So this is before and this is after. You can see the effect that it already has just from those little tiny changes that I've made. Now all you do from here is you grab the opacity on the top right hand corner and you bring it all the way down to 0. Okay, so this is 100% and this is 0. So what you want to do is drag it up to a point where you see the change, but the change isn't so dramatic that it looks like, you know, it was forced on her. And I think that looks perfect right there at about 50%. So this is before and this is after. The changes are very subtle, however, it makes such a big difference. Now let's go to the body. Same thing, we get the brush and we find the dark spots that should be dodged, and of course the uneven sections of her body here. Sometimes you don't want to, the dodging and burning is obviously something that you want to do to also blend in the skin colors so it's not so splotchy. That happens a lot, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you did a bad job in your photography. Sometimes you have bad skin. In this case, it was not bad skin, it was just bad photography. But what we want to do is, I've already done it. You can already see the difference around here. I hope that the video can pick it up, but you can see that I've made it a little darker just so I can fill it in for her so it looks a little bit even. And then from here I can start working, right? So this is the burn. I'm gonna come in by her neck over here and I'm just gonna burn it a little bit more, just like that. And then I'm gonna go to the dodge and I'm gonna dodge over here. Okay, and shadows is what makes things look more three-dimensional. Everybody knows that without shadows it's just gonna look strange. So over here we have this line where we want to make things pop a little bit, so we're gonna dodge this area, and then we're gonna burn this area here to make it a little bit darker, just so there's a little bit more presence of that. Now obviously again this looks a little bit too much, which is why you have to be careful. Sometimes I wish in this, now I'm looking at it, maybe I should have made it 1% instead of 2%. But that's not a problem because as you saw previously, we can easily take care of that without an issue. Okay, so now this is the before and this is the after. You can totally see the huge difference that it makes. Okay, and again I think I did a little bit too much, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down to 0% and I'm going to lift it up until it starts looking the way I want it to look, not overly processed. And I think that looks good, and that was at about 40%. Now background, I normally have background just as a default in case I wanted to enhance the background, but there's not too much to enhance here. There's maybe some on the bed where there's a little bit crease. If you want the creases to show, then we just want to burn that. And this is a high key, whoops, this is a high key type of photo, so we don't want to do too much burning here. Maybe just the back here if I wanted people to even notice this thing. And not really, actually. I guess I would probably have to play with this. But all in all, if I go before and after, it makes a small difference. Nothing to write home about, but a difference is a difference. Now, let me show you when I combine all of these groups into a single group, right? This is before and that's after. Okay? Very subtle differences, but it is a huge difference in which it makes a lot of difference. It can make your photo look amateur and professional just by going before and after. Just like that, you can see that this is before, it's a little flat, and this is after. It gives a little bit more dynamic, you know, three-dimensional looks. And again, now that I look at it, let me go to the body, let me grab the burn, and you know, you can do things like burning the inside of her finger here where it's a little bit darker, and then this will pop a little bit more. You know, this picture is probably not a very good example simply because, you know, this is more of a high key photo than anything. But yeah, it definitely makes a big difference from my monitor. Hopefully you can see the difference. That's about it. And that's so easy to do. You could probably do this in 5 minutes or less per photo. If you have everything set up already, it's really, really simple to do. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. It's about 5 minutes to dodge and burn. Actually, it's a lot less, but the more you do it, the more efficient you become. And you just have to remember one thing, is that less is more. And as you grow as a photographer, you'll notice and agree with most photographers that, well, the bottom line is post-processing, in my opinion, is about 50% of the photo. But in regards to post-processing, the more you can get it right in camera, the better off you'll be. And you'll notice that the least amount of processing that you do, the image actually looks better. You don't really have to do that much post-processing. Obviously it depends on the kind of job or work you're doing, but for the most part, less is more. And especially when it comes to dodging and burning, you don't want to dodge and burn too much, especially on a portrait photo. Maybe on a landscape, seascape photo, if you wanted to make it look really dramatic, then you want to do a little bit more. But for the most part, less is more on portrait photos when it comes to dodging and burning, and you just don't want to over process it. In any case, if you like this video, hit that like button, and obviously if I'm going to make more videos like this, please shoot me a comment below, and that's, you know, something I'll concentrate more on. And then last but not least, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of any photography related videos. So I really appreciate you watching this video. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the next one.